These long dog days of summer, I mean, we just made it through a heat wave. Mama was parched through this heat wave. I was hitting up Dunkin' every single day, and I will continue to probably for the rest of my days, but especially this summer. Dunkin' is helping everyone stay cool this summer with its lineup of refreshers. These drinks are packed with bold, fruity flavors and served ice cold. It's amazing. Dunkin' refreshers are the perfect afternoon pick-me-up. I like to start my morning with them personally, and then sometimes I go back for a second one because I'm just feeling crazy. They come in a variety of delicious flavors, including fan favorites mango pineapple and strawberry dragon fruit. And then for a limited time, there's black cherry and there's pink pineapple. I'm going to tell you something right now, and it's a bold claim, let me tell you, but I stand behind it. Pink pineapple will change your life. It is so good. It has me feeling like I'm sitting in a pool, resort side, just living, honey. It's so yummy. Try your favorite flavor with green tea, sparkling water, lemonade, or Dunkin's all-new limeade. I haven't tried the limeade yet, but I'm going to. Usually I get my drinks made with green tea and occasionally lemonade, but I do really like the green tea. Or if you don't want to build your own, try one of Dunkin's curated refreshers like the Cherry Lime Ricky or the Ultimate Pink Daydream. The Cherry Lime Ricky, scrumptious. I could drink like 3 of these a day. They're so freaking yummy. Head to Dunkin' today and find your favorite refresher. Dunkin' refreshers contain less than 1% fruit juice. Limited time offer. When it comes to online college, Southern New Hampshire University is so good, it's scary. Listen, the facts don't lie. SNHU has degree programs that fit your goals, online classes that fit your life, and real support at every step. And if that wasn't enough, they've got some of the lowest online tuition rates in the U.S. This is an airtight case, you guys. Visit snhu.edu/morbid to get started. That's snhu.edu/morbid. Every good detective needs a partner to support them on important cases. Think of a State Farm agent like your sidekick, there to help you along the way in your search for coverage. State Farm can help you choose the coverage you need, whether it's for your home, car, boat, or even RV. With so many options, it's nice knowing you have help finding what fits for you so you can get back to solving all of life's bigger cases. Go to statefarm.com or use the award-winning app to connect with a local agent and get a quote. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Hey weirdos, I'm Ash.
And I'm Elena.
And this is Morbid.
This is Morbid, and this is part 2 of a very, very intense series.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not getting better
No.
in part 2. It's not getting easier in part 2. I dare say it's getting worse in part 2.
Wow.
Not really sure how, but it is. It's going to be a 3-parter, so there will be a resolution.
Well, you said he
end.
gets apprehended in this part, and I like that part.
He gets so
They get on to him.
they're getting ideas.
All right.
You know, he's getting on the radar.
Are we talking about anything first, or
We can get into a vibe and then crash it right down.
okay?
If you would like.
Have you ever seen My Best Friend's Wedding?
You want to hear something funny about me? No.
You never seen it? You'd hate
No.
it.
Yeah.
You would hate that movie so much.
Yeah.
But one thing about me is that I love that movie so much. I used to fall asleep to that movie for like years.
Wow.
In my childhood. I love Julia Roberts and I love Cameron Diaz. And I like that guy that's in that movie, but I forget his name.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Everyone's probably yelling at me, but it's fine. I found out this morning that they're doing a sequel.
Oh.
And I'm a little bit nervous, but I think everybody is returning. So speaking of part 2s,
Oh, there you same
part
thing.
2 of My Best Friend's Wedding is happening. And
Very
I'm excited.
adjacent.
I'm apprehensively excited. Very adjacent. I just wanted to talk about it, okay?
No, I get it. You know what's funny to me is that Julia Roberts always plays. I mean, can we be honest? She always plays that bitch in that movie that like steals your man.
She kind of does.
She just like America's Sweethearts.
I've never seen that.
She's that girl.
She's that bitch that
She's
steals your
that
man.
girl that steals your man. It's like the
she
chill girl.
She's in Mystic Pizza,
She's always
right?
the chill girl that's like, I'm not like other girls and I'll just steal your guy.
Yeah, that's actually pretty fair.
Like, that's kind of her type in movie.
You know, I don't think she steals anybody's man in Mystic Pizza.
Maybe she does.
I don't think she does. I think she's engaged.
She wanted to.
Probably.
She tried
Runaway
to.
Bride, she's not stealing anyone's man.
No, but she's running away.
She finds a man.
She does. And it's not someone else's.
Pretty Woman, she's not stealing anybody's man.
No.
She finds a rich man.
She just, she's got 2 movies where you do that. Might be 2 movies too many.
Well, now it could be 3 because who knows what's going on.
Yeah, it might be 3. But yeah, I never saw that.
Wow.
Because that's what it's about, right? I remember like reading things about it. And
So basically,
hearing people talk about
For
it.
anybody who hasn't seen My Best Friend's Wedding, this is it's like from the 90s. Yeah. But Julia Roberts, I forget the name of her I forget who she plays.
Yeah.
But she loves this guy named Michael, and he's getting married to Cameron Diaz's character named Kimmy, and Kimmy's just like fucking crazy. Like
Cameron Diaz.
But we love her. Like
Yeah.
she's adorable and sweet. And I think it's Jules is her name. Julia Roberts' character, which should have been easy to remember,
I was
but it
going to
wasn't.
say, wow.
But she's basically trying to stop him from marrying Kimmy.
Wow.
And when I said you would hate this movie,
Wow.
Elena. But it's just like enjoyable because in the end, spoiler alert, he stays with Kimmy.
Oh, really?
When she realizes like that she shouldn't have done what she did and she feels bad for it. It's a rom-com, so it ends up happy.
Oh, man. That would make me angry.
One time I was crying and me and Karen watched that movie
love
together and
that.
it's one of my favorite memories.
I love
aside
that a
from
lot.
the crying.
Aside from the crying.
Yeah, so now they're coming out with part 2 and I'm excited. This isn't an ad for it. I just heard about it this morning.
This isn't an ad.
This isn't an ad for My Best Friend's Wedding.
Weirdly,
part 2.
I know you guys thought it was. But
It just seems like a very random topic
what a
for us
weird
to
ad.
discuss.
That would have been. That I'm just like, yeah, that movie sounds like it sucks. And you're like, no, it doesn't, I think. It's kind of okay.
No, it doesn't. It
I know
definitely
it's a
doesn't
horrible
suck.
subject, but sure.
Yeah, but
But
she steals a big delivery truck at one point.
I can't even talk shit though, because I'm sorry, we're just going to talk for a second.
No, it's. Do you know what? I saw a lot of people the other day saying that they want us to talk more.
Oh, I love that.
That's why I brought up this random
Love that.
topic
That's
of
why
My
you
Best
brought
Friend's
up this
Wedding.
random
Yeah.
thing. It's also, this is going to be a very tough episode and it's a very tough series, so we might as well get some levity in the beginning here.
Yeah.
I can't even talk shit about My Best Friend's Wedding because I used to love that movie Something Borrowed, and it's literally probably worse than that.
Oh, you liked that movie?
I did like that movie. I hated her character.
I can't believe you
But I
liked
liked
that
the
movie. There's a girl named Darcy in that movie.
Yeah.
Right? It's Kate Hudson, right?
Kate Hudson.
Okay, so you might like My Best Friend's Wedding in that case.
I don't know. I don't know.
It's very similar vibes.
Yeah.
It's actually almost
It's
exactly the same
premise.
story.
It's the same premise. I think I also love.
It's actually better because Jules doesn't even sleep with Michael.
Oh, wow.
In the timeline, she did at one point.
Oh.
But in the timeline,
In the timeline.
like in the timeline of the wedding, she's
I
not
felt
fucking
like,
him.
you know what? I felt like Something Borrowed had the same vibes as He's Just Not That Into You. Mm-hmm. And I also like that movie.
It's the same actress.
It's like a fun comfort movie, I think. Because it's just like, yes, you can just sit there and you can turn into goo watching that movie.
I read that book when I was like 12.
Did you really?
Yeah, Something Borrowed.
When you were 12?
Yeah, my mom and I used to swap books back and forth that like I definitely shouldn't have been reading.
I love
but
that.
That
Love
bitch
that for
loved
you.
to be treed.
She loved to be treated.
She did. That and the other Boleyn girl.
That's
Which
true.
I wouldn't consider a beach read. But I did
consider
read that way too young.
Yeah, you know?
Yeah, they were talking about that on Sup the other day, and I was like, why the fuck did I read that when I did?
Yeah.
Just talking about like Anne Boleyn and King Henry VIII, like fucking. I'm serious.
Yeah, you were way too young.
I was way too young to
What the
read
fuck
that.
was going on there?
I don't know.
Damn.
Yeah.
And speaking of books,
You have one?
you can buy. I
You got
have
one?
a couple. You can get the paperback version of The Butcher Game August 12th that comes out. You can pre-order it now anywhere you want.
A new update. It not only does it fit in your pants pocket, Elena's just telling people to put it in their pants now. The book, that is.
So I did a Talk Shop Live. By the time this comes out,
It'll have happened eons ago.
The cars will be flying, so I don't think we'll be. I don't think it'll matter. But you know, that'll be different later. But by the time this comes out, it won't really matter. But on the Talk Shop Live, I showed you that you can, in fact, fit the Butcher Game paperback, which comes out August 12th, and you can pre-order it now if you want to.
Shimmy,
You
shimmy,
can fit
shimmy.
it in your pants pocket. And I said, if you want to put it in your pants, that's your prerogative as well, because you're an adult, and I stand by that. Okay.
I interrupted with the next question because I felt it was going to a weird place. But
you-
new development
you can do
in the
that.
butcher game,
Yeah.
in the life of the butcher.
You don't even have to fold it to fit it in your pants pocket.
True.
You can just boop right in there.
Yeah.
So I was correct. You can put it in your pants.
She was wearing stretchy pants. If you're wearing jeans, you'll probably have to fold it. And you shouldn't do that.
But you know,
But again,
do
you're an
whatever you
adult.
want. It's your prerogative, okay? As long as you read it. That's all
Just
I
read
ask.
it. Don't just put it in your pants without reading it. That's
Don't
weird.
just put it in your pants. And you know, like, because you know, who knows? Who knows if there's more? You know, who knows? So, put in your pants.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah. So that's the butcher game. And also, I'm gonna start doing that thing where I like recommended like one book on my Instagram, and I was like, oh, I want to do this, and then I just didn't do it again, like an asshole.
Yeah.
But I've had a lot of you have like messaged me or said you really want me to do that more.
Do it.
So I'm gonna do that more.
Yeah.
And again, by the time this comes out, hopefully I will have done that already.
Well, and I feel like it's also something that we could do for the bonus episodes, like another fun thing. We could like, you know, who knows what we'll do with those bonus episodes, but we could talk about books.
Because remember, once we move to Sirius, you're going to get an extra episode every single month, 1 week per month. You will not get 2 episodes. You will get 3 episodes, an extra episode.
1 week out of the month.
And that bonus episode can be anything. So
Maybe
if you guys, you know, have things that you would like to hear us talk about, you can also suggest it, and maybe we can throw them on those bonus episodes.
Hell yeah, brother.
And they'll be for everybody again. They're free. They're for everybody. They're
Yeah.
not locked anywhere.
No.
But yeah, so that'll be cool. So maybe we can do that too, talk about books sometimes, and that'll be fun
I love it.
because we're so excited for Sirius.
Did you guys catch that we kept saying seriously in episodes?
We've been saying it for a few weeks.
We would go like, seriously?
Seriously.
Did you guys catch that?
Seriously?
Haha. We're so stealth elf.
Oh, I guess we should probably get into the rest of this case because it's an important case to talk about. It's just a very upsetting one, as you guys probably noted in the first part of it.
But it's fascinating.
But it's fascinating. It's upsetting, and it's something that needs to be told because I did not know about this case before this.
I think I had heard of like the name,
Like the moniker.
killer's name, the moniker,
Yeah.
but not any of the details whatsoever.
Yeah, I definitely hadn't heard the details, so I feel like it's important to get it out there. These kind of cases, I feel like they kind of like, unfortunately, can get buried in the history of other, you know, and especially around this time in the 70s, 80s, and around this location in California.
There's just
There was
so
a
many.
lot of serial killers happening, and I think a lot of the ones that a lot of people know off the top of their head: Zodiac, Ed Kemper,
Ted Bundy,
Hillside Stranglers, Charles Manson, all those kind of buried it. But this case is so upsetting, and there's so many victims, and there's so many victims that are unidentified to this day. It's like crazy.
That is truly nuts.
It's the same kind of thing with like John Wayne Gacy, that there was a couple of unidentified victims, and a couple of them got identified
That's the
recently.
thing.
So it's like we should never forget about these things
And never
because
stop
you
telling
can
them.
identify people decades and decades later.
Especially
like,
now.
don't give up on it.
like familial DNA, all the developments there. Just who knows what's gonna come next in technology.
So I hope they don't forget about these.
No.
But yeah, when we last talked, the investigators were trying to profile the killer along with the FBI's behavioral science unit.
Which was like super new.
Super new, like watch Mindhunter if you're interested in that. I'm telling you, that show is so fucking awesome.
I for no
So
good
mad it got
reason
canceled.
fell off the second season. I was thinking
Oh,
that
get back in there.
when you I think you said it during part 1. I need to finish that.
You got to get back into Mindhunter.
I think I might just like rewatch it. from the
that
start.
show not continuing is a travesty.
I know.
Because it is one of the most, I'm not going on a long tangent, I promise, but it
it's
is
your
one
show.
of the most well done
Yeah.
shows.
No, it really
and the
is.
cast is fucking perfect. I cannot believe how well they did on that show. Like, that show is honestly one of my top shows, and the fact that it didn't go past 2 seasons is
Bullshit.
really gross. But go watch those 2 seasons because they're worth it. But yeah, in the last episode, we talked about how they were coming up with a profile for this killer. And it was helping them with a few things, like, you know, that there was Probably more victims than the investigators even knew about at that time that they hadn't discovered that were connected to this killer. That the killer was not somebody who was going to feel guilt or remorse, was not going to be one of those people that turns themselves in or begs the police to stop them because they can't help themselves. He doesn't give a shit.
No.
And also that it was unlikely that he was ever going to stop unless he was caught. He was never going to stop on his own volition.
No.
So again, this was a really great profile to have, but it wasn't exactly leading them to anyone because they had nothing to go on at this point. And within a couple of months of the last murder, which was Craig Jonitis, the killer was out again. It didn't take long. Like, he was not taking time between these instances. And on the morning of March 29th, 1975, 19-year-old Keith Crotwell caught a ride with some friends down to San Diego, which was about 40 miles from his home. And he was going to be spending the day at the beach. This was something that he had done a million times before. He did it alone. He did it with friends. This was nothing different.
I think most Californian teenagers could relate.
Yeah.
A beach day with their friends.
Yeah, very routine. That afternoon, Keith met up with his friend, 15-year-old Kent May, and they just hung out all afternoon. It was getting near midnight, and they started to notice that while the parking lot had mostly cleared out by them, there was still one man standing nearby just watching them.
I hate that.
Yeah.
Ew.
The man came over and started talking to them and just started chatting. But they said they felt pretty uneasy by his presence, and they didn't like his overall vibe, but they weren't like scared of him. It was just like, this is a little
a little off-putting.
Yeah. A few minutes later, the two boys and their new friend were back at this man's car now, which was a 1974 black and white Mustang. And this stranger gave them 2 beers and, they're teenagers, just hands them. He's a grown man.
That's
hands
bad.
them to 2 teenagers. And they all get in the car and went for a ride. And as learned through interviews later, May and Crotwell knew there was a certain risk with, accepting rides or substances from strangers. But May said that he, quote, deferred to Crotwell's judgment because he was the younger one. So he's deferring to the older ones. And since Keith thought the guy was all right, Kent decided there was really nothing to worry about. Mm-hmm. He's 15.
Yeah.
He's just looking, what's the older
amount
kid
of
thinking?
dumbass situations I got myself into at 15 because I was like following my older friends.
Exactly.
I get it.
Is it recommended? No, but it's
10 out of 10 don't
understandable.
recommend.
Yeah. Not long after leaving the beach parking lot, the driver started passing around pills.
Oh, fuck.
And Crotwell quickly and easily identified these as Valium.
That's not
Do
a party
we remember
drug.
in part 1, Valium was something found in one of the victims.
Yeah, and also, like, no one's taking Valium to
Yeah.
party. Like, what the fuck?
And he warned Kent to go easy on the drugs. Crotwell did. Keith did. It wasn't the first time either of them had taken tranquilizers, so they each popped a pill and they were just waiting for, whatever to set in.
The effects.
But within 15 minutes after that, Kent said he started to feel something coming, but then it left really quick, and what it left him with was like a numbing effect, like a very powerful numbing effect. And he described on it bordering on catatonia.
The fuck?
Yeah.
Doesn't Valium like chill you out to I've never done Valium. Doesn't
I thought
really
it
chill
calms
you out?
you down.
Yeah.
But this was like to a numbing degree. Valium isn't supposed to numb you out into oblivion, especially one.
Yeah.
So this felt like it had something different. From where he was sitting, Keith seemed to be experiencing the same effect as well. And the driver, though, seemed to be stone cold sober. They drove around for what seemed like a long time, but Kent May said it was very hazy. He could recall very little of this trip. It was just like kind of in and out.
I mean, he's been drugged at this point.
At some point, Kent passed out in the back seat. And the next thing he knew, he was waking up in his own bed at home.
What the fuck?
And he said the sunlight was coming through his windows, middle of the day.
That's horrifying.
He said the night before, total blank to him after passing out. Couldn't remember basic things like how he'd gotten home. And fortunately, Kent's roommate, Terry Dittmar, was able to fill in some of the gaps for him. According to Dittmar, he and his brother Frank had been partying at the home of another friend that night and decided to call it a night a little after midnight. After settling in at home, Terry stepped outside for some fresh air when a black and white Mustang pulled into the parking lot and the passenger's side door opened and Kent came tumbling out of the car.
Oh.
Kicked out of the car. Terry ran over to help his friend up. And when he looked in the car, he saw Keith Crotwell in the front side, and he was passed out.
Mm-hmm.
Later, Dittmar would describe the driver to the authorities as, quote, a confident, sober face accented with dark, bushy brows, blonde hair, and cold, blank shark's eyes.
Oh, not
shark's
shark's
eyes
eyes.
fucks me up.
Yeah. Because that is...
Yeah. That's
a fucking description.
As hell.
Yeah, that's intense. This is a paid ad by BetterHelp. I happen to be somebody that struggles with people pleasing. So a lot of times I will build things up and up and up and up and up and then kind of get to the point where I'm like, I need to let this out to this person. Even in 2026, that stigma and just stigma in general can get in the way of a lot of things, like getting support for your mental health. Maybe you've encouraged friends to consider therapy while avoiding taking that first step yourself because you're busy. You're worried about what other people might think, or telling yourself that you should handle this all alone. But therapy with BetterHelp, the world's largest online therapy platform, can be a space to slow down and talk through what's been building before it feels unmanageable. Just take a short questionnaire to identify your needs and preferences, and BetterHelp will handle the initial therapist matching work for you. Their industry-leading match rate means BetterHelp typically gets it right the first time. Feel confident knowing BetterHelp therapists work according to a strict code of conduct and are fully qualified. Don't let hesitation hold you back. Find support with BetterHelp. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/morbid. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/morbid. Every good detective needs a partner to support them on important cases. Think of a State Farm agent like your sidekick, there to help you along the way in your search for coverage. State Farm can help you choose the coverage you need, whether it's for your home, car, boat, or even RV. With so many options, it's nice knowing you have help finding what fits for you so you can get back to solving all of life's bigger cases. Go to statefarm.com or use the award-winning app to connect with a local agent and get a quote. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. As summer winds down, I am all about refreshing my wardrobe with staple pieces for fall. Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait for comfy friggin' clothes. And Quince nails it with all the luxe essentials that feel effortless and look super polished, perfect for layering. Oh my God, I can't wait for layering season and mixing. Their styles are so versatile, I find myself reaching for them time and time again. Think chic cashmere cotton sweaters starting at just $40, washable silk tops, and classic denim pants. Timeless styles that you're going to keep coming back to. The best part? Everything with Quince is half the cost of similar brands. I love Quince. I love their cashmere. I love their denim. I love literally everything about them. I have a bunch of really cute silk skirts from them that pair really well with sweaters in the fall and winter, but also cute silky tops in the summer and the spring. I am definitely going to be doing a refresh, though, of my fall wardrobe, and I will be absolutely doing that with Quince. Elevate your fall wardrobe essentials with Quince. Go to quince.com/morbid for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/morbid to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/morbid. This is an ad by BetterHelp. Wellness, 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 honey. Every time I open any of my For You pages, I have like 450 different people giving me advice for wellness. These days, it feels like there's advice for everything. Cold plunges, gratitude journals, screen detoxes, this, that, the other thing. How do you know it actually works for you? With the internet and information overload about mental health and wellness, it can be a struggle to know what's true and what actions to take these days. But using trusted resources and talking to live therapists can get you personalized recommendations to help you break through the noise. I love therapy, and that has always been my experience in therapy. My therapist usually ends up knowing me better than I know myself, and I'm like, dang. You're right. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Talk it out with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/morbid. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/morbid.
Several days passed, and still no one had heard anything from Keith.
And he's the older boy,
He's the
right?
older one.
Okay.
So the roommate, Dittmar, and Kent May convinced their parents to file a missing persons report for Keith.
Yeah.
Keith had come from a kind of troubled home and was living with friends at the time, so the police just assumed he was a runaway.
Very 70s.
It wasn't until 6 weeks later that they learned how very wrong they were. On the
You
afternoon...
would think that because of that, it would have, like... It wouldn't have been as long for them to realize that people weren't runaways because they were still doing that in the 80s.
Exactly.
It's like all these people you lost in the 70s and realized that they hadn't just run away, they'd actually been abducted by a serial killer.
Yeah.
Can we just have a process for this?
Can we change this way of thinking?
Yeah.
And instead of assuming, because also, again, overreact. If he's a runaway, then cool, you'll find out he's a runaway.
Must not have gotten far.
And yeah, you put some energy into it, but you found out that he ran away and you can
Right.
give up now. But
Come
if you
on.
do it, flip it the other way, it always turns out bad.
Yeah.
It never turns out good. Now, in the afternoon of May 8th, 3 teenagers at the Long Beach Marina were climbing over a rocky wall in search of small crabs and, other marine life around there at the end of a jetty around 300 yards offshore. And one of them spotted something wedged in the rocks. The object had clearly been in the water for a few weeks and had been worn down by the constant movement of water over the surface, but it was pretty easily identifiable for what it had once been. It was a human head.
Oh.
They saw a human head wedged into some rocks at the end of a jetty.
That is awful.
Yeah. Investigators and divers scoured the area all afternoon, but they weren't able to find anything additional. They just found the head. A few days later, a local dentist was able to identify the skull as matching the dental x-rays of Keith Crotwell. Once the skull had been identified, and the Crotwell and Dittmar families got in touch with investigators and gave them the information about the man in the black and white Mustang that they'd seen with Keith the night before he disappeared. Unfortunately, Kent May still couldn't remember anything from that night, but the lead about the car was still a good one, and if they could find its owner, there was a good chance that Terry Dittmar could identify him because he was the one who saw him.
His scary shark eyes.
Yeah. Without a body or any forensic evidence, there was no way for the medical examiner to identify how Keith had died or what happened in the hours leading up to his death.
Yeah, he's literally got nothing.
Without the presence of what would become the killer's signatures at that point, investigators really didn't have a reason to connect Keith's death either without strangulation involved.
Yeah.
But investigators spread out across the area around Long Beach Marina in search of that Mustang and its driver. They went door to door. They were talking to witnesses, anything they could. And 5 days later, they discovered a car matching the description provided by Dittmar.
Nice.
It was parked in front of an apartment building less than 1 mile from the beach.
Whoa.
A search of the DMV records indicated the car belonged to Randy Stephen Kraft.
Hey, I know that name.
It was a man who'd recently relocated to the area from an address in Orange County. None of the neighbors seemed to know Kraft or even recognize the name, though. But fortunately for detectives, one of the local mail carriers knew the name and were like, this is where he lives.
Here you go.
When Detective Mike Woodward knocked on the door, a very average-looking man appeared and invited him right into the apartment.
Average.
From all appearances, Randy Kraft was a perfectly ordinary, middle-class man, pretty indistinguishable from the countless other people living on the beach.
Yeah.
He did not stand out.
I get it.
It did occur to Woodward early on in their exchange that Kraft apparently he gleaned this by something that he was gay.
Okay.
He just said he knew. He said he spoke with a very mild, timid type voice, and he appeared to me to have some gay tendencies. That is a direct quote.
I wish you could see the side eye that I'm doing right now.
The
What
phrase,
are gay tendencies?
Thank you. The phrase "gay tendencies."
What are gay tendencies aside from sleeping with a male?
And how does one appear?
Did you see him sleep with a male?
That's the thing. How do you appear to have them?
No, you don't.
How do you just appear to see gay tendencies in someone? It's a very strange way.
That's just being a judgmental
very
piece of shit.
70s.
Yeah.
Very 70s.
I just want to know what he did. That the guy was like, gay.
Yeah. He was like, must be gay.
Jesus Christ.
So Randy Kraft's boss at Aztec Aircraft would later confirm Woodward's suspicion. Again, this is all going to be very offensive, but it's coming from 70s detectives and men. So just, know that. This is his employer. Okay, at Aztec.
Sorry, Randy's employer?
Yes, Randy's employer. He told Detective Woodward, he was like, yes, you are correct.
He's so gay.
He said, and I quote,
Oh, no.
He was a little bit affected. He held his fingers kind of like he was gay. How do you hold your fingers like you're gay? And talked effeminate a little, but he was a very good employee. People just talked like that. Like
the gayness didn't affect his work.
I gotta know. He held his fingers kind of like he was gay. What is a gay finger? I'm not really sure. How is one finger straight? Is there a bisexual finger? Like where Mikey's trying to show me right now?
Is there a bisexual finger?
I'm just confused. That's a weird statement.
It is.
I've never looked at someone.
It didn't affect his work at all.
Didn't affect his work being gay.
His sexual preference never affected his work.
He wasn't out here kissing dudes while he was working. And it's like, okay.
Christ. This is making me so angry. I need to see if my Oura ring is like, you're stressed right now.
You're stressed right now. He held his fingers kind of like he was gay. I'll never get over that. You know what I'd like to say to that guy? Go fuck yourself.
Yeah. But I'm engaged right now, by the way.
You're engaged.
Engaged on my
You're engaged
Oura
to be
ring.
married. Engaged to be angry.
I'm engaged to be angry.
But a simple check into Kraft's background proved that not only was he a good employee, but he was also held in high regard by just about anyone who knew him.
All right.
According to author Dennis McDougall, Kraft, quote, had a reputation among his friends for loyalty, caring, and an even-tempered nature.
Damn, that's terrifying.
He also had no arrest record or any interactions with law enforcement.
How the fuck did
and
he
even
get
the
here,
bartenders at the nearby Ripples bar, which we talked about before, spoke very highly of him.
What?
And while it was true, he did happen to be gay, there was a large percentage of the population in the Belmont Shore neighborhood of Long Beach that was also gay. So, like, he's not the only one.
Crazy, guys. There's gay people in the world.
There's more gay people than
Can
just
you believe
this one.
it?
Yeah. And that fact, even with the presence of the black and white Mustang, didn't make him a killer. So, I mean, you can't just rely on that. What do you have? You got to have some forensic evidence here.
Yeah.
Initially, when he was asked about the night Keith Crotwell went missing, Kraft denied having met either boy and claimed he was somewhere else that night. But Woodward didn't believe him and asked him to come to the station and talk to him.
He said, take your gay fingers down to the station.
And I think it was like, you do have a black and white Mustang and you are a mile away from this. Like,
yeah, I mean,
we better talk to you.
Yeah.
But at the station, Kraft continued to deny that he picked up Kent and Keith that night. But eventually, after a little more talking, his story started to change.
Actually.
He said he was walking to his car after leaving Ripples when he saw a young couple in the parking lot arguing. Yeah. Kraft told him, quote, finally, the girl had eventually had it. And I believe she got in the car and left with some people. And the guy comes over and was talking to me right there in my car.
What?
Kraft claimed that the guy who was talking to him, meaning Keith, was soon joined by another man and that they all had beer and decided to go for a drive.
Not a man, honey, a 15-year-old.
Exactly. Kraft claimed that the three of them drove around for a while, then they returned to the parking lot where Kent got out of the car and rejoined his friends.
Nope.
But Keith wanted to keep drinking, so Kraft kept driving with him. At that point in the interview, Kraft's story began to spin out into a very convoluted story about Keith driving the car and getting it stuck in the mud, at which point Randy decided to walk several miles to a restaurant where he called his roommate for help and left Keith with the car.
He left a stranger with his car?
Here's something
after
that
letting
everybody
a stranger
should learn.
drive his car?
Everybody should learn this right now. The more details that come spinning out and the more convoluted it comes, the more they are lying.
Yeah.
There's not, no, you don't need all those
it's
details,
like when you
buddy.
call in sick for work when you're really doing something
And
else and you get way too detailed with it and your boss is like, yeah, come on in.
Yeah, like, I know you're bullshitting me. Now, when Kraft got back to the car, he said Keith was nowhere to be found. He told Woodward, we were pretty drunk, so, it crossed my mind that he might have passed out. And when he finally got the car unstuck, from the mud, Kraft says he went out to get some breakfast and didn't think another thing about Keith Crotwell.
Okay.
He just disappeared. That's not
crazy.
my problem.
Crazy that you were like the last person to see him before he disappeared and his head was found wedged into a jetty.
Yeah, it's crazy. Investigators checked out Kraft's story with his roommate, Jeff Graves, who confirmed that Kraft had called him for help that night and he met him at a restaurant. They even went as far as driving out to the area where he claimed the car had become stuck, and they discovered a service road with tire ruts deep enough to have caused trouble for a driver.
Okay.
These two discoveries seemed to confirm Kraft's story.
Yeah.
Yet something about the whole thing
Was
didn't
fucking
feel
weird.
right to Woodward and his partner. They at least had that sense of like something's off here.
Well, that's good.
The detective decided there was enough suspicion and there was enough some circumstantial evidence to file charges against Kraft for the potential killing of Keith Crotwell. But when he brought it to the case to the district attorney, he was told, forget about it.
I kind of get that.
They said,
There's
"No
really
way."
not a lot there.
They said they don't have a body, just a head, and there's no forensic evidence tying Kraft to this head.
Yeah.
All they had was conflicting stories, and that wasn't enough to build a case. And to be honest,
You wouldn't be able to convince a jury on that. No way.
You didn't have enough there at all.
Like if I didn't know the outcome, I'd still be sitting here like, I don't know if that
you'd
guy
be like,
did all
I
this.
don't know. The coroner's official cause of death for Keith Crotwell is listed as accidental drowning.
Still?
And the rest of his remains are believed to have sunk somewhere in the ocean.
Oh, they never found them?
Yeah. Where, even if they were discovered, they would obviously be too badly damaged to be of any use in any criminal case. Woodward and his partner did the best to keep the case alive, but after a month or so of inaction, other cases came in and they were just given priority. And it kind of got shoved to the
Awful.
side.
That's really sad.
Yeah. So, who is Randy Kraft, though?
Please tell me everything.
Who just entered the chat here. So for 5 years, investigators had just spun their wheels and just tried to no avail to connect these murders in a case where the killer had left absolutely not one shred of evidence to lead to him. Now they finally had some suspect, like at least something, like this is at least in one of the cases that they believe is connected. But they couldn't come up with anything to hold him. So now he's there and they can't hold him. Still, that didn't stop detectives from looking into Kraft's background. And much of what they learned in hindsight fit a more modern profile of a serial killer, to be honest. So Randy Kraft was born March 19th, 1945 in Los Angeles, California. That doesn't make him, is he an Aries?
Pisces.
Yeah.
He's right on the cusp, though, because March 21st is Aries.
I don't know what that means, but...
Pisces?
Yeah.
You know what? I will say, ever since I started taking my astrology class, you really can't glean all the information about one person just based on their sun sign.
Yeah.
But Piscean people are usually like very dreamy.
Okay. That's interesting.
They're usually like artsy.
Okay. That makes sense.
But I'm assuming he doesn't really have the positive qualities of a Piscean.
No, I don't think he's got those. He doesn't have a lot of positive attributes. He was the fourth child born to Harold and Opal Kraft.
Well, that's a pretty name.
I know. Isn't that adorable? According to Dennis McDougall, the obstetrician, and this is a quote, the obstetrician who delivered him reported no congenital malformations, no birth injuries, and no complications.
Hey, that's great.
That's great. Normal birth. Sick.
Congrats. Good news.
That's awesome.
That's what you're trying to hear.
Super happy about that. The family lived in Long Beach, where Harold and Opal worked the production lines and Douglas Aircraft. Meanwhile, at home, Randy's three older sisters watched over and doted on their baby brother while their parents were at work.
Cute.
According to his sister Doris, Randy was, quote, a very calm baby, but that didn't prevent him from getting hurt every now and then.
Yeah, he's a kid.
A little after his first birthday, he fell off a couch and broke his collarbone, which is upsetting. Then a year later, while the family was looking at a new house, he fell down the front steps and hit his head on the concrete and actually lost consciousness.
Oh, that's not good.
Harold
We don't love an early head injury.
We hate an early head injury. Harold and Opal rushed him to the nearest hospital, and he did regain consciousness and was released to his parents. And they said there was no complications later.
But they also didn't have a lot of information or insight into that.
No, they did not. As the only boy in this family, he was definitely spoiled by his parents, very doted on, treated better than his sisters could ever remember being treated by their parents.
If you have a brother and only one brother, you totally know that's how that goes.
Yeah. In fact, while the entire family was very, very devoutly religious and very active in their church community, Randy didn't really have an interest in church, and so he didn't want to attend, and he didn't have to, but the girls had to.
That's such bullshit.
I think that's such bullshit.
It's so of the time.
Also, none of his sisters recall Kraft being abused in any way at home or anywhere else in the community. And any medical records that would have shown abuse are gone. So, it doesn't. But obviously, we can't tell for sure if he was abused or not. But we do know that Nobody in his home, school, or anywhere else in his community reported or thought there was any abuse present in that home.
He ends up saying that he was abused, huh?
It's just one of those things.
Okay.
So at school, Randy was quickly singled out by teachers for being highly intelligent.
Oh.
And he was placed in very accelerated classes very early on. He was, according to McDougall, who we have cited in the show notes, he was, quote, a likable egghead, always good to crib homework assignments from, but not a first-round draft choice for the flag football team.
All right.
You know? But while Randy was clearly a good and capable student, he wasn't always compliant. And his former teacher, Lee Manley, said he was one of those people who felt the rules didn't apply to him. Which is not great. When he wasn't in class, he played saxophone in the school band and would be found otherwise with his two best friends, Billy Manson and Paul Whitson. They dubbed themselves the Three Musketeers. They were like inseparable. And they weren't really exactly inclusive when it came to other students, but like they were a very tight-knit group.
Okay.
They always managed to be looked upon pretty well by their peers. And, you know, they succeeded in, you know, romantic endeavors from time to time. They didn't have trouble with the ladies.
All right.
But, you know, Manson recalled later, there were a batch of girls that we ended up spending a lot of time with, in rotation almost.
What a way to put that, sir.
I said, wow.
Dang, Billy Manson.
Wow, Billy. Like, damn.
I bet those girls wouldn't like to hear that.
Yeah, holy shit.
Not a rotation. I think in my early 20s was when I realized that my day-to-day spending habits really had impact on my long-term financial stability, you know, like my credit score and stuff. I didn't really become aware of that until later in life. But now, through Chime, you can be smarter about how you manage your credit scores. Build credit history with everyday purchases and regular on-time payments. That's a biggie. Plus, get access to credit tracking tools and personalized tips for a stress-free credit experience, all without credit checks, minimum deposits, annual fees, or interest. Visit chime.com to get started. It can make it easier to borrow with better terms for life's unexpected expenses. You have access to lower rates on car and personal loans and expanded eligibility for apartments and houses. A good score equals better chances. There's also no annual fees, interest, or credit checks. You can use it everywhere Visa credit cards are accepted, and you can build credit with money that you set aside. Make everyday purchases count with Chime Secured Credit Builder Visa Credit Card. Get started today at chime.com/morbid. Chime feels like progress.
The Chime Credit Builder Visa Credit Card is issued by the Bancorp Bank N.A. or Stride Bank N.A. Chime checking account required to apply. Money added to Credit Builder will be held in your secure deposit account as collateral and is your Credit Builder cards available to spend amount. This is money you can use to pay off your monthly charges. Out-of-network ATM withdrawal and OTC advance fees may apply. Late payment may negatively impact your credit score. Results may vary. Go to chime.com/disclosures for details.
Getting scared is one thing. Getting a thrill is, well, you want more of those in your life. The Genesis GV70 is built to thrill, baby. A thrilling yet elegant design always makes driving the GV70 an exciting adventure. Its powerful athletic stance screams performance and turns heads. Everybody's looking at you, girl, or boy, or whoever. Command the road and experience a class-leading standard 300 horsepower. Oh my God. Plus, discover the different dynamic drive modes for all different terrains. Choose between the different terrain modes for whatever road conditions you may encounter. The Genesis GV70's award-winning technology and performance lets you drive with comfort and drive with confidence all at the same time. It's an exciting SUV with intuitive tech that can make your ride smooth even when the road isn't. And its blind spot cameras allow you to see what's next to you. It's like having eyes on the side of your head. That's pretty iconic. Its performance, by the way, is measured not only in power, but in how it makes you feel confident, sexy. The Genesis GV70. Learn more at genesis.com and feel the GV70. This part of the show is brought to you by Anua, the Korean skincare brand known for scientific, gentle, yet effective formulations. The latest from Anua is the Retinol Collagen Gua Sha Cream, a firming cream with a gua sha-shaped tip built right in. Have you guys heard of gua sha? It's that viral massage tool that moves fluid and tension out of your face. Less puffiness, a snatched jawline, honey, more definition in your face. Retinol firms and reduces fine lines, and collagen keeps your skin plump and structured. This cream has both of those things, arguably the most optimal combo for that snatched, lifted look all in one step. I am obsessed with the Gua Sha cream. First of all, it feels so cool to the touch when you put that on your face. It's just like, this is lovely. It's like a little spa treatment that you can give yourself. I like to do mine at night after I get out of the shower. I rub the cream on my face with the little gua sha. I'm sculpting that jawline, honey. I got it on the cheekbones. And actually, I had a facial the other day, and the lady doing my facial, the professional, she said, "Do you use a gua sha at home?" And I said, "I do." And I said, "How did you know that?" And she said, "I didn't have those little like bumps in my chin or like different areas like that." So she could tell that I was using the gua sha. And I said, "Oh my God." I just feel like I wake up less puffy in the morning when I do it the night before. But you can do it whenever you want to. I, 10 out of 10, recommend this product. The Anua Gua Sha Cream Value Set is available at anua.com, already discounted. Use code MORBID for an extra 10% off. That's ANUA.com, code MORBID.
Now, years later, Randy Kraft would acknowledge that he knew he was gay at this time, obviously, but he never let on to anyone else. And it seems that no one ever suspected it either.
Okay.
That's just how it was.
Nobody saw his gay fingers back then?
Nobody
That's a
noticed his
joke.
gay fingers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gay fingers
Gay
goes
fingers is
crazy.
insane.
That goes
No, it's
crazy.
insane.
So it turned out that although Randy was genuinely liked, by his peers, by adults in his life, not everyone thought highly of him, which I don't think anybody
you
can
never
say
get
that.
10 out of 10.
Steve Manley said, which was one of his friends, "I didn't trust him and I didn't like him."
Shit. All right.
So this was one of
Steve Manley put it blunt.
This wasn't like one of the three musketeers. Obviously, it was like an acquaintance of his, but like he didn't like him, apparently. He was 4 years younger than Randy and was in the same Boy Scouts troop with Kraft. He said he was the kind of person who'd say one thing to the parents and then do almost the opposite. I didn't ever feel comfortable around him, and I never understood why.
Huh.
So that guy had
That's
like
a guy with a gut.
instinct. Yeah. After graduating from high school, Randy was accepted to Claremont Men's College on an academic scholarship. And in the fall of 1963, he began his first year. He participated in Claremont's Reserve Officers Training Corps program, ROTC. It's a military training program designed to it helps students pay for college, also kind of training them to go into the military.
They had that at one of my high schools.
Yeah, ROTC is a pretty common thing.
Yeah.
But by 1965, the war in Vietnam was ramping up a little bit, and many young people, Kraft included, began speaking out against the military activity in Southeast Asia. It was a very big movement. Randy had always been interested in politics, so the war gave him something to speak out against. He wanted to pursue a political career at one point.
Wow.
He was very interested in that. Most of his teenage and young adult life, he spoke out very actively politically.
Wow.
In the summer of 1966, he moved to Huntington Beach with a friend from college. And that same year, he was arrested there after he was picked up in a vice raid on one of the known cruising spots by the beach. And he was charged with lewd conduct.
Oh.
So there was that.
Or nor.
So it is funny that later he was found to have no arrest record.
Yeah, because he was arrested.
Fortunately, he was let go with a warning because it was his first offense.
Was he 18 at this point? He might have been like 17.
That's
so
a
maybe
great
that's
question.
why.
Yeah, it might have been that. But he was living a secret life at this point. Nobody knew who he really was. He wasn't out.
Yeah.
But he was also trying to maintain this like public persona a little bit. And it was taking a toll on him.
Yeah, that's a
I
lot.
imagine that is very tough.
Yeah.
Later that year, he developed serious anxiety, and it led to migraines, stomach problems, and this led to him becoming a regular user of Valium and other painkillers. In 1968, Randy was out of college, and his deferment, which had kept him out of the army, had expired. So he was going to be drafted. He decided to be proactive, and he joined the Air Force. He figured it was safer than the Army or the Marines. That was just his reasoning.
Yeah.
After enlisting, he was sent to Texas for boot camp and technical training. But rather than being sent to fight in Vietnam, he was assigned to the Air Force Test Center as a protective coating specialist, also known as a painter of test planes, which is interesting.
That's cool.
Things got worse the next year, though, because he did come out to his family the next year. According to Dennis McDougall, quote, his father went into a rage, howling that no son of his could possibly turn out queer. His mother was more understanding, if disapproving. She held out hopes that he was just going through a phase and would get over it.
That's the worst thing you could ever say to your kid when they come out as gay. Not
I
the worst,
imagine
but it's up
that's
there.
horrifically traumatic.
Yeah. Don't ever say to your kid, like, this is just a phase. Because
Don't ever say to your, don't just let your
why don't
kids
you
be
just
who they are.
entrust them when they tell you who they are?
You should your love for your child should not be conditional.
And
it
also,
just shouldn't.
If you're worried that you're going to have a gay kid, you probably just shouldn't have a kid.
Yeah, because guess what? Just have a kid.
Chances are pretty
Who
high.
gives a shit?
Yeah.
As long as they love a consenting adult, like to get, like, it's like that's, as long as they're not hurting anybody and no one's hurting them.
Yep.
What are you disapproving of?
Yeah. Let them live their life.
Let them live. Randy's sister Kay, on the other hand, blamed his sexuality on having attended an all-male college, but she tried to be sympathetic and understanding of his situation. Regardless of whatever attempts Kay made, Randy's relationship with his family was very strained after this.
I can imagine.
And it appeared to worsen his anxiety.
Yeah.
Although his family wasn't supportive, he did find a supportive community outside of the family. He frequented bars in the area and started actually going on dates, like just starting to actually like live authentically, Unfortunately, as he suspected, his newfound openness got him discharged from the military.
Insane.
Yeah. But he was given a general discharge rather than a dishonorable one. Whatever positive feelings he may have had at this point of his, being so authentic and being who he was, there was no denying at this point that being openly gay in the 60s and 70s had a lot of drawbacks.
Yeah, it came with a cost.
Unfortunately. For one thing, it pretty much destroyed any chance he had at running for public office, which he was interested in. And that had been like a dream of his, to be honest. And since being out had earned him a discharge, he found himself unemployed, which means he couldn't pay his rent.
Yeah, that's a very tough position to be in.
As a result, he had to move back in with his parents and found a job tending bar at one of the local bars. The arrest for lewd conduct a few years earlier had been Randy's first experience with the law enforcement, but it certainly wasn't going to be his last. In March 1970, 13-year-old runaway Joseph Fancher went to the police in Long Beach, 13 years old, and reported that Randy Kraft had picked him up hitchhiking and taken him back to his apartment where he gave him drugs and alcohol. What Joseph didn't tell police at the time was that after giving him drugs and alcohol, Kraft had repeatedly sexually assaulted him.
Oh, no.
Years later, when he was asked why he didn't tell this information to the authorities, Joseph replied, "How do you tell something like that to your mom? Something you don't understand yourself."
Yeah, 13
He was
years old.
13.
That will change you for a long, long time.
Poor baby.
I know.
In his courtroom testimony given nearly 2 decades later, Joseph Fancher explained that he'd met Kraft at the Huntington Beach Pier, and the man had taken him back to his apartment where he showed him black and white porn and offered to find a woman for him to have sex with. He was 13.
Jesus.
Eventually, he started showing him images of himself having sex with other men. And then he gave him a large amount of pills and wine and sexually assaulted him. After the whole ordeal was over, Fancher got dressed and left the apartment, but he was stumbling so much because he was very inebriated that a passerby stopped and helped him to a nearby restaurant, and somebody called an ambulance. It's very reminiscent of Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah.
Fearing that no one would believe him and knowing that an accusation could reflect badly on him, Joseph chose not to tell anybody about the sexual assault. He just lived with that.
That's a lot for a 13-year-old to just stuff down.
According to Joseph, police took the report of him having been drugged and physically assaulted and got a warrant to search Kraft's apartment. But because Joseph had admitted to taking the drugs voluntarily, which I'm like, he's 13.
Yeah, he can't take
He
drugs
can't
voluntarily.
consent to do that. Like,
Nope.
let's be real. The officers had no cause to arrest Kraft, and ultimately, it just went nowhere, the report. Yeah.
What a world we used to have.
So in the aftermath of the whole thing, Joseph claims his family abandoned him, at which point he descended into a life of petty crime and substance abuse that plagued him for decades.
His family abandoned him because he came forward with this.
Isn't that awful?
Yeah, what a shit family.
In the years after that, Randy got involved with several people, but none were really long-term dating prospects. He was just dating around. In fact, it wasn't until he met Jeff Graves, who Detective Woodward assumed to be his roommate, that Randy started dating someone seriously.
Oh, so he was actually his partner.
Yeah.
Okay.
But in the beginning, when Woodward talks about it, he's like, oh, it was his roommate. In the meantime,
what was he, his mom? His disapproving mom?
Yeah.
That's just his friend.
That's just his friend. In the meantime, he found more steady work at the aircraft factory working with electronics. And for the first time in his life, he was feeling like he was starting to make something for himself, but then he ran into a streak of bad luck starting in 1975. Being picked up and questioned in the Crotwell case was just the first of many frustrations. So we're up to the point where he is picked up for the Crotwell case.
Yeah.
So he's already been through some shit before that. Not long after he was questioned by Woodward, Randy was laid off from his job at the aircraft factory and began working as an independent computer consultant. It's wildly inconsistent work, barely paid enough for him to get by. Then at the end of 1975, he and Jeff Graves's relationship ended and Graves moved out.
Because Graves was like, hey, why are the police here?
Yeah, he's like, something is wrong here. It seemed to Randy like everything he'd worked to achieve in the previous 10 years had just slipped away in a matter of months. Now, years later, the significance of Kraft being questioned in the Crotwell case would not be lost on investigators. For 4 years, they had been searching for a brutal killer who'd left more than a dozen bodies. But they'd made almost no progress.
Yeah.
And although they didn't know it at the time, they had the man they'd been looking for in their custody pretty briefly, but without any evidence to charge him with a crime, they just had to let him go. Maybe it was because of all the chaos happening in his life at the time, or maybe the arrest scared him, but whatever it was, Randy Kraft's killing spree, which had been averaging a new victim every 5 or 6 weeks, came to an abrupt halt after he was interviewed by Detective Woodward.
Scared him.
Then, on January 3rd, 1976, an off-duty Santa Ana police officer was riding a dune buggy with friends near Silverado Canyon when they came upon the body of 22-year-old Mark Hall. According to his friends, Mark Hall had gone out drinking with another friend on New Year's Eve, and they had visited a bar before attending a party at a friend's apartment later in the night. At the party, Hall drank a lot and smoked some pot, but by the end of the night, he was like very intoxicated. He's at a party.
Yeah.
Deciding they wanted to go to another party, Hall and his friend walked about 2 blocks to another friend's apartment. But by the time they got there, Mark was so drunk that he passed out as soon as he laid down on the couch. You know, whatever.
Shit happens.
Later that night, when the party was kind of winding down, Mark's friend Philip Homer was looking for him so they could leave together. But according to Homer, Mark was nowhere to be found. Assuming his friend had found it just another way to go home, Homer eventually left the party and figured he'd just check on Mark the next afternoon after he slept it off. A few days later, Mark's body was discovered just feet from the road. To anyone familiar with the other murders and the circumstances in which the bodies were discovered, there was really no doubt that Mark Hall was a victim of the same killer. But this time, everything seemed a little worse, if you can imagine that. Mark Hall's body was nude, and he had clearly been tortured brutally before death. His mouth and trachea were, quote, densely packed with dirt and leaves.
Oh.
Which the coroner believed had become impacted from his having been force-fed debris.
What the fuck?
He was alive when it was shoved down his throat.
Like force-fed dirt and debris?
Dirt and leaves and debris. Yeah.
Jesus.
He had also been burned with a car cigarette across various parts of his body, or car cigarette lighter, excuse me, with various parts of his body, including his eyes, nose, and nipples.
Oh.
And his genitals had been removed.
While he was alive?
Most of this was done while he was alive. The medical examiner also found that a swizzle stick had been shoved into his urethra, into his bladder.
Oh my God.
And the genitals had been inserted into his rectum. I didn't know it could get worse, but it got worse.
It sure did.
Like, how am I never hearing about this case ever?
Yeah, that's insane. That's the thing.
Like, this
I've
is
never
one of the
heard
worst.
any of these details ever.
This
like, that's
is
nuts.
This is top brutality I've ever heard. Top. And and nearby the body, detective discovered a broken bottle with blood on it, which they believe was used to cut the body post-mortem.
Wow, a broken bottle?
Yeah. There were also clear ligature marks around Hall's neck, and the medical examiner listed the cause of death as a combination of alcohol poisoning and suffocation from the blockage in the airway. He suffocated on the debris that was shoved down his throat.
Of course he did, yeah.
At the time of death, Hall's blood alcohol level was 0.67. For context, a blood alcohol level of around 0.45 or 0.50 would pretty much result in death.
Wow.
So Hall was well beyond that at the time of his death. Later, when the evidence and photographs were shown in the courtroom, the prosecutor referred to this as the worst of Kraft's murders due to the brutality and the extent of the wounds and the fact that the victim was alive when most of these injuries were inflicted.
Yeah.
Like, that is
Used a car
unthinkable.
cigarette lighter to burn his eyes.
Unthinkable.
Yeah.
Now, initially, investigators were hesitant to publicly declare Hall a victim of the same killer, which is shocking to me.
I mean, he escalated so much.
For sure, he did.
But still, I mean, that's kind of to be expected after a cool-off period, I would think.
That's the thing. And they did acknowledge that while it was sheer speculation, there were similarities in the murders.
Yeah.
I understand they're trying not to, like, jump the gun.
And again, create mass hysteria.
More importantly, this time, the killer hadn't gotten away with leaving no evidence this time. Because on the broken bottle used to slash Hall's body, forensic investigators found a latent fingerprint that didn't belong to the victim.
Nice.
Because it had been used to cut the victim, it stood to reason that the thumbprint on the glass belonged to the killer.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when the print was run through the database, it didn't match any prints on file.
Run it through another database.
That left detectives waiting for another victim in the hope that the next crime scene could produce maybe a little more evidence.
Y'all just can't talk to somebody else with a different database? Come
This
on.
is the most frustrating. That wait turned out to be much longer than anyone had predicted. But for a killer who had been leaving victims with, like, very consistently and quickly, the unknown suspect had seemingly disappeared after this murder. In the months that followed, authorities in California had arrested Patrick Kearney, who confessed to the murder and dismemberment of 28 boys and men over the span of 15 years.
Jeez.
At first, it seemed as though investigators finally caught the person responsible, but, like, for these killings. But the hope definitely fell apart quickly because when the cases were compared, there were similarities, but there were far more dissimilarities. Most importantly, all of Kearney's victims had been shot in the head.
Oh, okay.
And there was no evidence of torture in those cases.
Yeah, that's very different.
Ultimately, investigators would wait nearly 2 years before they had their next crime scene.
And how many more people lost their lives?
Exactly.
This episode is brought to you by SoFi, the all-in-one finance app where you can bank, borrow, and invest all in one place. Let's talk about bank accounts for a second. The average bank savings rate is 0.39% in interest. You're earning pennies on your savings, and it doesn't have to be that way. But with SoFi's high-yield checkings and savings, the money barely making moves sitting in your savings account can earn over 8 times the national average savings rate with eligible direct deposit. No account or overdraft fees. We love transparency. You can get your paycheck up to 2 days early, plus get up to a $300 welcome bonus when you sign up with eligible direct deposit. Sign up for SoFi checking and savings at SoFi.com/morbid. SoFi checking and savings is offered through SoFi Bank, N.A., member FDIC. Terms apply. Getting scared is one thing. Getting a thrill is, well, you want more of those in your life. The Genesis GV70 is built to thrill, baby. A thrilling yet elegant design always makes driving the GV70 an exciting adventure. Its powerful athletic stance screams performance and turns heads. Everybody's looking at you, girl, or boy, or whoever. Command the road and experience a class-leading standard 300 horsepower. Oh my God. Plus, discover the different dynamic drive modes for all different terrains. Choose between the different terrain modes for whatever road conditions you may encounter. The Genesis GV70's award-winning technology and performance lets you drive with comfort and drive with confidence all at the same time. It's an exciting SUV with intuitive tech that can make your ride smooth even when the road isn't. And its blind spot cameras allow you to see what's next to you. It's like having eyes on the side of your head. That's pretty iconic. Its performance, by the way, is measured not only in power, but in how it makes you feel confident, sexy. The Genesis GV70. Learn more at genesis.com and feel the GV70.
On April 16th, 1978, Anaheim police received a call about the discovery of a body laying about 5 feet from the road beside the on-ramp in the Riverside Highway. When they arrived, they found the fully clothed body of 18-year-old Scott Michael Hughes, a Marine stationed at nearby Camp Pendleton.
The third
one. Hughes had obvious ligature marks around his neck, which were consistent with a belt, and his body showed signs of road burn, indicating that he was pushed from a slow-moving vehicle. The medical examiner listed the cause of death as cerebral anoxia, which was the result of strangulation. There was also ante-mortem abrasions, possibly from being tossed out of a moving vehicle. And the killer had cut open Hughes. This is horrifying and brutal, just putting that out there. The killer had cut open his scrotum and removed one of his testicles. There was no sign of alcohol in his system at the time of his death, but the medical examiner did note diazepam was present at about 3 times the therapeutic level.
Wow.
Which would have caused sleepiness and mental confusion. According to administrators at Camp Pendleton, on April 14th, Hughes had told another Marine that he was planning to hitchhike to Washington to visit his brother, who was suffering from cancer. After which he was scheduled to be reassigned to a base in Okinawa, Japan.
Wow.
So he was going to be
almost
out of here.
completely out of here.
The next time anyone saw Scott was 2 days later when his body was found on the freeway. Also, the crime scene itself yielded few clues and almost no evidence again. But there was very distinct carpet fibers found on the victim's body, which were collected, and they hoped that they could at least use them in some way. For 2 years, there had been silence, and it seemed like he had come back and was apparently trying to make up for lost time. Because in the early morning hours of June 11th, just 2 months after the murder of Scott Hughes, a driver on Irvine Center Drive called the police to report she saw what she thought was a body on the side of the road. About 20 minutes later, a Santa Ana firefighter called police with a similar report, and the officers were sent to the scene where they found the lifeless body of 23-year-old Roland Young. Just hours before the body was discovered, Young had been released from the custody of the Orange County Sheriff's Department after being picked up on a misdemeanor charge of public drunkenness. They had let him sober up, so he was totally sober when he was let out. Investigators theorized that after being released from custody, he was likely picked up by the killer when hitchhiking.
Yeah.
Which is like, what the fuck?
What are the odds?
To those familiar with the case, this was a very eerily familiar crime scene. Young wasn't wearing a shirt, but the killer had obviously redressed him and everything else, which always gives me the willies.
I don't know what it is.
He wasn't wearing a left shoe or his belt. He was also missing the shoelaces from his right shoe, and his jeans were soaking wet from a large amount of blood. During the autopsy, the medical examiner noted that his cause of death was blood loss following 4 stab wounds to the chest, all of which struck the heart.
Oh, wow.
This was a deviation from the killer's usual method of strangulation, but there were other hallmarks.
Yeah.
According to the medical examiner, and this is a quote, at or near the time of death, a sharp knife had been used to cut the scrotal sac and remove 1 testicle and some skin from the penis.
Sorry, you said while he was still alive.
Yeah. At or near the time of death.
Okay.
Young's blood alcohol at the time of death was around the legal limit, 0.08, but there was a large amount of Valium in his system, which, when combined with the alcohol, would have made him lethargic, if not unconscious.
Definitely.
Detectives on the Young case had barely begun processing this evidence on June 19th when a Los Angeles firefighter discovered the body of 20-year-old Richard Keith laying on the side of Moulton Parkway. Like most of the other victims, Keith had been strangled, and there were ligature marks on both wrists as well. It indicated, obviously, he had been bound. His blood alcohol level was 0.07, but the medical examiner also noted a large amount of Valium in his system, and the combination had apparently caused him to choke on, quote, white froth, which was found in his throat.
Oh.
Yeah. Upon investigation, it turns out that Richard Keith was yet another Marine stationed at Camp Pendleton.
Number 4 now.
According to Keith's girlfriend, he had gone with her to visit her mother on June 18th, the day before, and he left around 11 p.m. Because he had no car and didn't arrange for a ride, he hitchhiked to his girlfriend's house and was presumably planning to return to Camp Pendleton the same way. Otherwise, there was little else about the body or crime scene that would give them anything else to go on. Almost like clockwork, another body was discovered on July 6th.
Oh my God.
This one just off the side of the road on Interstate 5. After receiving the report from a driver on the I-5 around 3:30 a.m., officers came to the scene to find the body of 23-year-old Keith Klingbeil laying half in and half out of the slow lane. So, like, on the highway.
Yeah.
When they arrived, officers were expecting a dead body, but upon closer examination, they discovered that Klingbeil was unconscious and had a very weak pulse.
What?
He was still alive. Paramedics were called and he was rushed to the hospital, but he died shortly after arriving.
Oh.
He was found alive. There were obvious ligature marks on his neck, indicating strangulation, but according to the autopsy, his cause of death was determined to be acetaminophen overdose, with ligature strangulation a contributing factor.
Acetaminophen, isn't that like Advil?
Yeah. Tylenol, right? Tylenol. Yeah, because Advil is ibuprofen, right?
Yeah.
The ligature marks weren't the only thing, though, tying Keith's murder to the other victims. He had also been burned repeatedly with a car cigarette lighter, including on the eyes, face, and the left. Apparently, the left nipple is his like thing that he burns, and it happens in a lot of these cases. It'll happen a few more times.
Maybe it's because he's right-handed or something.
I don't know, but Keith had recently hitchhiked to California from his home in Everett, Washington. He was apparently visiting his mother, who lived in San Diego. Among the items found in his pockets were a number of matchbooks from various businesses, including one from a Chevron station in Long Beach, which was another piece of evidence tying him to Kraft's growing list of victims. Other aspects of the case that linked him to the other victims included his missing laces from one of his hiking boots and the fact that, like many of the others, he had been pushed from a moving vehicle on the side of the road. Like the previous cases, investigators strongly suspected the four most recent murders were definitely committed by the same individual. And now the press was calling this killer the freeway killer. That's what was named, because they hadn't yet found the scorecard.
Oh,
so he was initially called the freeway killer.
I thought there already was another freeway killer.
There probably is.
Yeah.
But they were reluctant to say that much in press conferences, that there was a connection between these four bodies. The investigators weren't. Detective Willie Stansberry told the press during one of the conferences, "We have to give a lot of consideration as to them all being committed by the same person." So they're like, we're considering it.
Yeah.
Still, while they felt confident that at least these latest four killings were connected, detectives readily admitted that the investigations were already starting to go cold just a few weeks later, even though they were connected.
Yeah.
Stansberry said, "It's virtually at a standstill because we have no place to turn." That must be
maddening.
Infuriating.
Yeah.
2 months later, another body was discovered along the highway in San Bernardino County.
It's like, where does it end?
But this case was even more vague and void of evidence than the others. On September 30th, 1978, a driver reported seeing a body along the Interstate 83, and it turned out to be 20-year-old Richard Crosby. Richard was known to be a regular hitchhiker, and that night he was just headed to the movie theater. Crosby's cause of death was listed as suffocation, and his body showed a lot of signs of torture, including the same burn marks in the same spots with a car cigarette lighter. Less than a month later, on November 18th, the body of 21-year-old Michael Inderbeaton was discovered along the side of the 7th Street exit on the 405 freeway, just a few yards from where the very first victim, Edward Moore, had been found years earlier. According to friends, Michael had gone out to some nightclubs along the Pacific Coast Highway the night before his murder, where he and some others eventually found a ride with some other patrons.
Yeah.
Because the car was full, one of the young women was sitting on Michael's lap. And, according to reports later, he started to pinch her in what she said was a not very good area.
Oh.
So she slapped him in the face, and he became angry, and he demanded to be let out of the car.
Okay.
His friends reported to police that was the last time they saw him. He was walking towards the Pacific Coast Highway in the direction of his home. Now, Michael was discovered wearing only a pair of pants, which had been pulled down slightly. Like many of the others, he had been burned in the eyes and other places that we discussed with a car lighter, and his scrotum, testicles, and skin from his genitals had been removed.
Wow. All
All of which was likely happened when he was still alive.
Oh my God.
All of that. The cause of death was listed as anoxia due to suffocation. But while there were ligature marks around both wrists, there were none around his neck, indicating he had not been strangled.
Interesting.
But he was suffocated. His blood alcohol level at the time was 0.16, which would have rendered him drunk, but only mildly, really.
Yeah, not like crazy.
He also had Valium and secobarbital, both tranquilizers, in his system. The combined effect of those two would have made him heavily sedated at the least, if not possibly unconscious.
Yeah.
So that seems to be the pattern here.
Yeah.
In their statement to the press, investigators remained pretty reluctant to connect his murder to the larger pool of victims. But with a total of 18 victims now across 3 counties,
18.
it was getting pretty hard to ignore the obvious connections being made to the press.
Yep.
But when he was pressed about the connection, the Sergeant G.F. Buzzard would only concede that Michael's death may be connected with the others. That's all he would say.
All right.
Because the murders were occurring across multiple counties in Southern California, and law enforcement agencies from those counties didn't always communicate well, we've talked about that.
Yep.
If they communicated at all, the connection between one victim and the others wasn't always apparent immediately. Also, information about potential suspects, light as it may have been, wasn't always passed along or discussed in interagency meetings. Because remember, they all have egos and they don't want to share their shit.
Yeah.
You know, if anyone had considered Randy Kraft a suspect in these murder cases, it doesn't appear that his name was circulated widely, nor was he ever identified as a suspect during this time. Wow. So, to investigators' surprise, following the discovery of Michael's body, Michael Interbeaten, the murder stopped again for nearly 7 months.
Okay.
Then on June 16th, 1979, another U.S. Marine was found dead on the side of the 405 highway. According to one of the Marines stationed at the base, 20-year-old Donald Creasell was last seen around 1:30 a.m. on the night of the 16th when he told a fellow Marine he was going to go to a restaurant like close to the base. At 9:30 p.m., a driver on the 405 spotted Creasell's body along the side of the road and called the police. When the first officer arrived at the scene, he felt for a pulse, didn't find any, but he did note that the body was very warm and there was blood coming from his nostrils, indicating that he had been killed very recently.
Yeah.
His body had many cuts and scrapes that came from him being pushed out of the car. When the autopsy was performed, the ME noted the obvious ligature marks on his neck, but the cause of death was attributed to an overdose of multiple drugs.
Okay.
In addition to a blood alcohol of 0.06, Creasell had unusually large amounts of acetaminophen, 2 antihistamines, and phenacetine and chlorpheniramine, both prescription painkillers.
Okay.
That was difficult to say.
Yeah.
The autopsy also showed that his left nipple had been burned with a car cigarette lighter. To those working the case, the killer seemed to be defying any kind of pattern for when he would kill. They were trying to come up with, like, is there a random pattern, like anything. Sometimes bodies would appear like they were on a cycle, and then he would just disappear for large stretches of time, and they couldn't predict when he was coming back.
Yeah.
This time, the next body showed up on August 29th, but not in the usual method either, like having been dumped on the side of the road out of a car. On the morning of August 29th, police in Long Beach received a call about human remains having been discovered behind the Union 76 gas station on the Pacific Coast Highway. And they meant human remains. When they arrived, investigators found a human head, torso, and left leg in garbage bags in the station's dumpster.
Oh.
There was no indication of the person's identity, but there was a sock stuffed into the anus, strongly indicating who the killer was.
Okay.
It would take many years, but eventually this victim was identified. It was 21-year-old British tourist Keith Jackson.
Oh my God. Just the fact that he was on vacation here.
And unfortunately, despite really intense efforts from authorities, they never could find the rest of his remains.
Oh, that's
which is
awful.
really sad. Just 2 weeks later, on September 19th, the remains of 19-year-old Gregory Jolly were discovered in a plastic bag along the side of the Highway 330 in San Bernardino. The first discovery was a headless torso. But the following day, investigators found Jolly's head and what the press reported as, quote, other body parts in trash bags, about 25 miles from where the torso was discovered. Mm-hmm. Now he's just scattering body parts.
Yeah, what the fuck?
So unable to identify the body, the sheriff's department reached out to the FBI, who ran the fingerprints through the national database and found that it was Jolly. It turned out that he was from Jacksonville, Florida, and nobody seemed to know why he'd come to California or who he might have been with on the night of his murder.
Huh.
According to his parents, he'd left home 2 months earlier, and they hadn't seen or heard from him since. In talking to his friends, detectives learned that Gregory had said he was hitchhiking to California, quote, because he wanted to see Disneyland.
Oh.
But he also indicated that he might look for work as a dishwasher while he was there.
Yeah.
That broke my heart.
Yeah, that's absolutely heartbreaking.
Like, truly broke my heart. He was only 19.
Yeah.
The victim's injuries, particularly the removal of the genitals, were what led investigators to suspect he was definitely one of the victims. Years later, several items belonging to Jolly were discovered in Randy Kraft's home.
Stop.
Which confirmed their suspicions later. During their investigation, detectives learned that Gregory was, quote, known to wear military clothing and tell people he was a Marine, which is probably how he came in contact with Kraft in the first place.
Oh, no.
In the following months after Jolly's murder, several young men matching Kraft's preferred victim profile went missing or were murdered in and around Los Angeles. At first, investigators on the interagency task force considered whether more than 24 new victims could be attributed to this unknown killer. Mm-hmm. But eventually, only one of the victims, 19-year-old Mark Allen Marsh, is believed to have been killed by Kraft.
Okay.
Like many of the other victims, Marsh was a Marine stationed at a base in El Toro, just outside Irvine. The last time anyone saw him, he was hitchhiking in the direction of Buena Park, a city in Orange County. It's about 20 miles, I think, south of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
On February 18th, 1980, his body was found alongside the I-5. The killer had cut off his head and hands, and, quote, a large object had been stuffed into a body cavity.
Oh.
I'm unfortunately going to leave you there because I need a minute
Yeah.
after that. And we will get to part 3 where Randy Kraft will be discovered and arrested. And this will all come to an end.
So he was like a little bit apprehended, but it didn't really work out this time.
They got him, but they had to let him go.
Out next time.
It's going to work out next
Okay,
time.
there's hope.
That was a lot. That was a lot of bodies. That was a lot of victims.
Brutality.
A lot of young men who were just going about their business one night. This is just
like some of their stories too, like they're like the ones who like didn't have a great relationship with their
Yeah.
family, just kind of like setting off on their own.
Yep.
This poor fellow who was just going to see Disneyland.
Disneyland. It's heartbreaking.
The poor guy who was literally just here as a tourist.
Yes, like that's the thing. It's like, what the fuck?
That's heavy. This is a heavy case.
It's a heavy case, and it's just upsetting. It really is. And the way it was reported on is upsetting. The things that come out of some of the investigators' mouth is upsetting. The things that come out of some of these employers' mouths is upsetting. And it's just like the fact that I didn't. I mean, maybe I'm in the like minority here that I didn't know about this case, and I feel very remiss that I didn't. But I feel like this isn't talked about a lot.
Yeah, no,
I haven't seen this.
I've never heard it covered before.
And it's
I've never
very
seen
upsetting.
It. Yeah,
but
it's a lot.
Yeah,
It's
so
really
take a
sad.
minute after that. Read for leisure or something. Just do
something light,
something
maybe.
fun. Have some hot cocoa.
Go watch Bravo.
I know it's like 90 degrees out.
Hug
but
someone you love.
Yeah, do something that isn't.
Manifest the fall.
Manifest the fall with us.
Let's all
'cause
manifest the fall.
We need that.
I'm really
now.
manifesting early fall,
Same, especially right now.
and you should too.
But take a beat,
Yeah.
and we'll get back to you with the third and final part of the series.
So in that case, we hope you keep listening.
And we hope you
Keep
it
weird, but not so weird that you decompress.
Hi, I'm Angie Hicks, co-founder of Angie, and one thing I've learned is that you buy a house, but you make it a home. Because with every fix, update, and renovation, it becomes a little more your own. So you need all your jobs done well. For nearly 30 years, Angie has helped millions of homeowners hire skilled pros for the projects that matter. From plumbing to electrical, roof repair to deck upgrades. So leave it to the pros who will get your jobs done well.
Angie, the one you trust to find the ones you trust. Find a pro for your project at Angie.com.
You wouldn't take financial advice from a 72 hours in a single day alpha influencer, would you? Same goes if you're in a car accident or any accident. Who you choose matters. That's why Morgan & Morgan exists. They're the largest injury law firm in America, and they've built a reputation by actually winning cases, not just talking about it. Over 1,000 lawyers across all 50 states and $30 billion recovered. Injured? Go to forthepeople.com/podcast. That's forthepeople.com/podcast.